and welcome to our first ever Freebit exclusive interview. I'm Jordan, and today I'm joined by Kiefer Nemeth, whose all-new indie turn-based strategy game with a retro twist, Katja's Abyss Tactics, launched today on itch.io. For those of you who have been following Freebit on Facebook and Twitter for a while now, you've probably seen us talk about this newly released indie title for several weeks, and may have even noticed that Katja's Abyss Tactics is our indie highlight of the weeks. So, Kiefer, thank you for joining me in this interview today. And before we start, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure getting to try out and talk about Katja's Abyss Tactics. Would you mind introducing yourself and your incredible game to the viewers?
I'm Kiefer. I am a queer game designer and developer now. Now I'm a developer. I live in California. I try to make games to, try to get by. Trying to make a living out of this in any way that I can. Katja's Abyss Tactics is sort of the first game that I've ever published commercially, so I'm really excited for that. It's like you said, it's a turn-based tactics game. It's made in the game engine, the OHR RPG CE, which is a mouthful, but that's the engine I use. And basically, you're on a Minesweeper map, except you're controlling units in a turn-based, sort of almost chess-like experience.
No, I mean, I absolutely love the Minesweeper elements that you've included in Katja's Abyss Tactics. It's the extra challenge that, in my opinion, elevates it above other turn-based strategy games. But surely this game didn't come with just the inspiration of Minesweeper. Could you tell us a bit more about what inspired you in the development?
Funny you say that. Minesweeper was almost the sole inspiration for Katja's Abyss. I remember being in bed at night playing Minesweeper on my phone to try and wind down, and getting upset that when sometimes you just gotta guess.
I mean, that's my whole strategy.
It's well, I mean, sometimes you're forced to guess. Like, there's genuinely a 50% chance that it could be here or here, and you don't have enough information. And if you hit a mine in Minesweeper, you just lose the whole level. Just start over. None of your progress is saved. It's all gone. So there's no sense of progression or anything. And so I had this idea of, like, what if the numbers on the tiles were let you gave you a score of some kind, or increased your a resource of some kind, and let you sort of progress through a level, and my mind sort of started wandering from there. I actually have on the notes app on my phone, where I was like frantically typing out this idea before it left my head for Minesweeper Tactics. And the remarkable thing to me is that the note of what that main gameplay loop would be pretty accurately describes Katja's Abyss, like 2 years later, I think, or a year later. I'm not sure when that was anymore.
I mean, was there any other inspirations, like any other games that you felt like inspired, like the more turn-based side of it, or like the gameplay elements?
StarCraft was the huge, like, sort of aesthetic and thematic inspiration, I think. At first subconsciously, and then I realized I'm going pretty StarCraft with this, and then I made it a bit more conscious. But there's this mechs versus monsters theme that really spoke to me, and I sort of leaned into that. And then also, it feels weird I don't really know the game very well, but Deep Space Mine, I think, is a game where you're miners in a sort of high-tech scenario going into big caves and fighting monsters. And so that was sort of an aesthetic inspiration, although I've only seen it in videos.
I mean, I definitely see the StarCraft one, and the mechs are a great way to take on insectoids, and we all know that. So,
of course.
I mean, what other way could you really take on insects hiding in mountains and caves?
It's just natural.
I mean, obviously, I'd like to think we're not alone hunting these things down. Is there any other characters in this game, like other than ourselves, who are hunting down these insectoids and all these resources hidden throughout the level?
Yeah. So the sort of main and kind of only character in Katya's Abyss is Katja. Um, she's sort of your supervisor in the beginning. She tells you, what you're doing in each mission, and sort of berates you as you do so. She's pretty rude. She's not a nice person.
Oh yeah.
But you might warm up to her, and then she continues to be rude. However, she's got something going on. She has plans of some sort. She's a researcher, right? And so she's researching what you're doing and what's going on in the mountain that you're mining in, and what these monsters are, and why they're even here. And there is an answer to that. There is an answer to the origin of these monsters. And I tried to sprinkle hints as to what those answers are into the game. And so I really hope that people sort of are able to pick up on what Katya's doing and what she's learned.
Well, she definitely sounds like a demanding boss, I'll say that much, and I'm sure we all know what that's like, but I won't go digging for the spoilers there. But the other thing we love about Katja is the art design, and I'd love to hear a bit more about your choices around that. Like, what made you go for the style, for the design?
Making 8-bit games is something that I've done for a long time. Pixel art is one of the few art mediums that makes a little bit of sense to me. I don't consider myself much of a visual artist. And the game engine that I use is 8-bit, so it's limited to a 256 color palette across the entire game, and a fairly small resolution as well. So pixel art is just sort of what I'm used to, and it's what I default to. I thought it worked very well for something that's grid based like Minesweeper in particular. So I think that's one of the reasons that I leaned into this project as my sort of main piece. I did make the original assets for Katya's Abyss, and there's a reason that I didn't make the final assets. They don't look amazing. So I basically hired some fellow community members from the game engine that I use. So I'm familiar with their art and what they like to do. And basically just said, hey, can you make these but better? And that's what they did. And they blew my mind and really made the game what it is. So I can't take a whole lot of credit for the game looking good. That is entirely on the talented artists whose names are in the credits of the game.
I mean, that is incredible. I mean, you've got indies there helping indies in a pretty cool community there. And I'm really glad that people are around there to assist and to bring your game into a vision, like into what you wanted it to be as well. Like, even if your stuff was like absolutely perfect, it's the fact that there are still people there available and you're all able to help each other out. It's a fantastic element, like, to the community. But another thing that is always helpful as well in the gaming world is hints and tips. So is there anything you can give to those who haven't played a game like Katya's Abyss Tactics before to help them out in that first level?
Yes. So Minesweeper is something that people are either very familiar with or not familiar with at all, and it's completely arcane. So the minesweeping part is actually been the hardest thing that a lot of people encounter. And I find it straightforward because I'm already familiar with it. So when people say, I don't get it, it confuses me. But the best trick, the way that I learned how to do it, it's all process of elimination. So you look at the number displayed on a tile, and you compare it to the number of unmined tiles around it. So if there's a 1 on a tile and there's only one place that hasn't been mined, you know there's a mine there. And then you can use that as a reference point and just process of elimination. Well, this one, this one has 2 and there's only 2 here. Or, this one's already marked unsafe, so I know that, one of them is there, then the other one must be here, etc. And in the game, I tried to put in some things that sort of let you circumvent having to just be good at Minesweeper. That was part of the intention. For one, if you hit a mine, you don't lose the game. You lose the unit that mined that wall; it explodes. But you can continue going until unless all of your units explode, of course. But there's also different unit types. So you can modify a miner unit into a diffuser, and it will actually remove a mine or a node from a wall and give you some resources back. And that's sort of a safer way to do it. It can be more expensive if you do it in the wrong spot, but it can prevent you from losing units. And then also, past the first level, you get access to all of the units, and one of them is the scanner, or the radar, I should say, which scans tiles and basically just does the minesweeping for you. So fear not. If you want to play Katja's Abyss and you're worried about having to know how to play Minesweeper, there is a unit that does it for you.
I mean, the radar unit is one that I wish I knew about earlier in the game. I didn't come across that until about level 4 maybe. And I wish I'd come across it earlier. Like, I was just there drilling away, making the level explode. Like, okay, I'm speedrunning here, but I'm missing out on all the other great stuff that's happening in this game. I'm just like smashing through unintentionally, and I really do wish I'd learned about that one a lot sooner. So that is a great tip for the early levels, especially. But moving away from Katja's Abyss gameplay as a whole and more into the behind-the-scenes aspects, creating the game is sure to have had its challenges. But what would you say is the biggest one you faced over the course of the game's development?
Yeah, that one is tough to answer. It's all very hard.
I can imagine.
So, choosing one thing is sort of hard. But I think in general, the hardest parts about making a game are the least tangible ones.
Okay.
So things like balancing the game is such an unquantifiable thing that I mean it's still something that I'm doing now, and the game is about to come out, and it's tough. It takes a lot of playtesters and other perspectives to tell me this is too hard or this is too easy. I had a huge problem in development where I kept making the game harder because I thought it was too easy. However, I have an implicit bias when I'm creating the game. So playtesting was really important in telling me that the game is not too easy. I just know exactly how everything works.
I mean, I really get that. Like, balancing is always troublesome, especially with a game that has like elements such as Minesweeper, because that could be a game that's either really easy or really hard, depending on the size and scale of it all.
Absolutely. I had someone who told me that the game was basically trivial if you know how to do Minesweeper really well, and so that was tough. And then I had people who didn't know how to play at all who said the game was way too hard, and it's really hard to strike a balance there. I want anybody to enjoy the game. I don't want to just target a really specific audience, and it's just how do you even do that? What numbers do I change? And systems are notoriously hard to adjust, because when you adjust one part of a system, that cascades into all other parts of the system. So I thought, this unit is not useful enough, so I make this unit a little bit stronger, but it ends up making another unit maybe obsolete or sort of ruins the balance of one of the enemy types that's now trivial to fight against. It's been really hard, and I've spent a lot of days where I just open up my task sheet that I have, and I just stare at it all day, thinking, trying to just, like, how do I start working on this? What do I do? Where do I go?
I mean,
that was
get that
the
completely.
hardest part.
Like, balancing definitely does sound like the most troublesome part of it all. And I mean, let's be honest, it's always safer to go for the harder direction, because most people do like a challenge. I mean, look at Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all the other Souls-like games. You could even become the Dark Souls of Minesweeper.
The Dark Souls of Minesweeper. I should start using that. I do. I think with the type of game that it was sort of turning into, that's what I was going for, is making it harder than easier, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we all deep down love this challenge secretly.
Oh yeah.
But now Katja's Abyss is out, it's finally here, and you can finally say you've released your first commercial game. Is there any advice you'd like to pass on to those about to take their first steps into indie development?
Sure. I've gotten a lot of advice. I've seen a lot of advice on the internet from a lot of developers, and it's hard to parse what's survivor bias and what is too personal to be, applicable to me or someone else. But I think I thought about this. You asked me it, and I've been thinking about what's actually useful advice. And the things that helped me a lot were finishing things and allowing myself to fail at things. And those are kind of contradictory in my head, but still important. And I think that's part of why advice is really hard to give, because a lot of the advice that you get is, don't always push through to the end, and also don't succumb to what's it called, the sunk cost fallacy, and those are how do you find the compromise between those two things? And for me, it's been make really tiny and bad games, because you can finish those, and you learn a lot more from a finished product than you do a tech demo. It's and that's where I think the allowing to fail comes from, is like, let yourself make a bad game. Try to make it at least redeemable in some way, but don't try to make it perfect. Don't worry about it being exactly what you hoped for. I mean, Katja's Abyss is not exactly what I wanted it to be, but it is what it is, and I think I like it. So I pushed forward with that, and I finished it. And now I can always say that I made a game. And imposter syndrome is a huge thing. Everyone I've ever talked to in the games industry and every other industry has complained and worried about their imposter syndrome. And the best thing for me to get over my imposter syndrome is to say, hey, I made this thing. You can't prove that I didn't make this thing, because it exists now. It's for sale. It's a real thing, and I did that. So that's why I think finishing things is really important. It helps motivate you and not get stuck.
You know what, that is actually some really good advice there, like making sure things are finished, because I mean, the point you raise can be applied to like the bigger indies as well. Like, I mean, you look at Hello Games and No Man's Sky. They launched No Man's Sky with a very shaky launch. It wasn't what it was promised to be. It wasn't what people expected it to be. But it was there. It was out there. People started feeding back, and Hello Games worked on it. They improved on it, and the community it's built today is something magnificent. And what you've done with Katja's Abyss as well is absolutely spot on. I mean, I love the game personally. I love the challenge to it all. And as we said earlier, we spoke about the art design. I love the pixel design to it. It's there, and what you've got is the finished game that you can now add to. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and now that we have itch and Steam and stuff, I can continue updating the game if there are any huge bugs that I somehow missed, or so there's a huge problem that somebody brings to my attention. I can continue. I'm still here. I can keep working on the game.
Exactly. I mean, if there's anything you wanted to add to it and anything you felt like you missed, or just wanted to bring new content to the game, the option's always there because your game is out now. It's available to download. People can check it out. And I really recommend that people do check it out because it is fantastic.
Yes, I really hope that my sort of dream is that somebody speedruns my game someday. So if anybody's listening to this and you like to speedrun games, just give me your time. I want to know.
Oh, well, I'll take on that challenge. I'm just going to make everything explode.
Yes,
make everything
maybe that's
explode and dig right through to the middle.
Oh, I love insane speedrun strategies.
I mean, that's my only strategy there. it's the only way I can make Minesweeper work without the radars. I'm not that great at it. But moving away, and just to bring this interview to a close, really more than anything, we've got a bit of a fun question for you, and that's: what game will you be unwinding to? Like, now you've finished, will you be playing a bit of Katja's Abyss yourself, or will you be moving on to something to take your mind off it?
Oh, I will not be playing Katja's Abyss. I've had to, right, to sort of balance the you get a level grade at the end of each level, and so I have to play each level and see what score I get and sort of curve it based on that. And every time I try, I encounter a bug and I'm not able to finish the level. And it's I feel like Sisyphus a lot of the time. So just pushing that boulder up.
But that boulder's at the top of the hill now, and you've probably played that game and completed it more times than anyone's probably completed Skyrim, I bet. Like,
Maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised. Well, anyway, it's been a lot. I've played it a lot. I think anyway, to actually answer your question, I got the new Story of Seasons, the Harvest Moon remake of the Friends of Mineral Town game.
Oh, fantastic!
And I played that. I played that game a long time ago, and I was too young to be good at it. I never knew what was going on, but I'm a big kid now. I can play real video games and. Oh, it is a perfect escape. It is truly nostalgic. It really sort of kept a lot of what was nice about those old games, and it's not so stressful like a lot of other simulation games where you have to micromanage too many things. So a lot of stuff is just like, chickens just lay eggs. You don't have to worry about roosters or anything. Just have fun and.
Simple. It helps you unwind.
Oh yeah.
What more do you want in a game?
It's a good escape.
No, that is an excellent choice to go for then. Something that brings back the memory, something that keeps you relaxed. Just tend to your farm at the end of the hard season.
And then ironically, I'll sometimes jump to Risk of Rain 2, which just got an update, which is probably the most stressful game I've ever played. So I'm really getting emotional whiplash from the games that I choose to play.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of back and forth there. But again, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on with us here at FreeBit today.
Thank you so much for having me. This means everything to me. I'm so glad to be talking to somebody about this. It means a lot.
And if anyone viewing this wants to check out Katja's Abyss in any more detail, be sure to check out their Twitter page, which you can search for at Katja's Abyss. You'll find it in the description below as well. And be sure to follow FreeBit as well. You can find our channels at FreeBit UK on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or join the Discord below. Or you can check out our Discord, which you'll find your invitation for in the link below. Thank you for watching. I've been Jordan, and this is FreeBit Exclusives.